La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la.
Take a giant step for mankind.
There's got to be 100 reasons why I don't blow you away. Right now, I can't think of one.
I got the power. I got the treasure.
And you have a flight to catch.
Yo, Adrian, be Rocky.
It's the Al Travis Show. Lucky to have our next guest on. He's Senator John Hoffman. Senator, how are you, sir?
You know, I love your outtake. You know, I got a plane to catch. I wish I could get a plane to catch sometimes. It's fun.
I don't know how you folks live in the Twin Cities. I don't. I love it out here where if I've got to go from here to there, I decide how many miles that is. That's how many minutes it takes.
Yeah.
Nope. Let me ask you this, John. A quick question. Mother's Day just happened. Have you ever had a pedicure?
Absolutely, Al. Of course.
You
I'm a
have?
man of the 90s.
I never have. This Friday was my first pedicure ever. 60 years of this gal, pulling out leftover socks between my toes. I enjoyed it immensely. It felt wonderful. I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but it felt fantastic.
Well, did you have any ingrown?
No.
No.
No. My feet were a little rusty. She used this, scrubber pad on my heels to take off the dead skin or whatever that was. That felt good. I found out I'm quite ticklish. She'd be filing a toenail on my foot. Oh, did I hurt you? No, it tickles I'm quite ticklish, evidently. But the weird thing about it, John, again, I'm going to say this, Kim's in Mankato. Go there if you like it. They're fantastic. If you have a great nail place, let me know. Al@altravisshow.com will promote it. The people inside, the workers were fantastic. The gals were fantastic. But the other people, the other customers,
yeah.
I'm going to guess there are 20 chairs, so 20, and there's people getting nails, and 25 people in there, 25 women in there. Yeah. They didn't stop staring at me from the moment I walked in. It was off-putting. I hated it.
You were the only dude? You were the only guy in the room, huh?
Yeah. And you're sitting in a wall of chairs, and across the way is a wall of chairs, and that gal's just looking right at you, and you're like, I'm looking at the ceiling, John. I'm looking down at the floor. I don't know where you're supposed to look, but this gal had no time to have a man in her space on her weekend off. I don't know. The customers were not as friendly as I'd hoped. The staff, wonderful.
You were embarking on a moment of,
They all went for Ladies' Day. Yeah, they all went for Ladies' Day, and there's Al sitting there next to his wife. I had to go because my wife wouldn't go alone to a spa day, and it was during the day. So anyway, long story. I just want to know.
Well, good for you, man. You know what? That shows the importance of your ability to be a person of reflection and an authentic human being to support your spouse during this moment. Good for you, dude. Did you get the oil or whatever, that smelly stuff?
No, I got the bare minimum. It was fine. I sat in a chair that rubbed me all the right ways, man. This thing was a massage chair. I'll give you that. I want to buy one. Feet soaked in water for an hour. Then she came up and, like I said, buffed the feet. Then she massaged, and then she put on oils on, to make them soft and pretty. And then she filed my nails. I didn't get any paint on them. I didn't get any gloss or anything. I didn't want any of that. You can put it in a sock the rest of the day. So, but I loved it. My wife got all that jelly and stuff. Well, I don't know what that does for you, but she did. I just enjoyed it. I want to know if you done.
They painted her nails, did the gloss on the nails, stuff like that.
Yeah, we have two graduations. My son graduated on Saturday. Another one's next Saturday. So you're going to be outdoors with the sundress on, and you want your toes out there looking pretty. I don't know. It's a thing. I don't
know. It's a thing. I don't get the it's a thing. So
I will not look at my toes the same way again. Let me ask you another question. Do you look down upon the other people that you work with at the Senate and the House? I presume you do.
I look down. I never look down on anybody else.
John, Senator.
What?
You're the only one that got your work done so far. Did you not get past the Department of Human Services budget? Did you not?
Well, we did in the Senate.
Okay.
Now we're in conference committee with the House, and we'll work out some things. We got to wait for, apparently, there's a conversation about global targets, but I cannot fathom, Al, all I keep hearing is you got to cut $1 billion. You got to cut $1 billion in the tails. It's like, and what are you going to do with the cut of $1 billion? Is that you're repurposing most of that to other stuff. So on the backs of the poorest of the poor, on the backs of the most disabled, and on the backs of our elderly, we're going to pay for other stuff. Does that seem fair to you?
Well, what did I read? What you got past your bill in the Senate, right? Your budget in the Senate. So did that actually go to the floor and the Senate said this is good for us? That's moved on now?
Went to the floor of the Senate. It was, I think both the policy and the finance bill is probably a 2 or 3 hour debate. It took a bunch of amendments, that people brought forward. I took a lot more amendments than what a lot of other people would do, right? Because it
mucks things up.
The Senate, and it passed 35-32. So, but it passed. It's like okay, it passed.
So now describe to us what happened. So that now sits on a table theoretically. The House, did they get their human services budget passed through the House? Is that a passed bill as well? Okay, so
that
now you're in. Okay, so now it's in a conference committee. I presume you're on that committee?
I do chair. It's the chair of the Senate, and then the 2 chairs in the House get conferees. You get, I think they're bringing 4 people, and they're bringing 4 or 5. We're bringing 5 people to the table, and the same thing with policy. In policy, we're actually going to meet tomorrow, probably pass. The policy. There's some things that we can't agree on. We'll just take them to a vote. There's a couple of provisions in there that's fine, but the overall 98% of the policy stuff, I think we have agreement on, and so we'll pass those, and we'll take that back to the floor, and then that will become law. I'll guarantee you this, Travis.
Okay.
We will be done with that Tuesday evening. You will have a policy bill that's agreed upon between the conferees of the House and the Senate. They will just go back to each respective body for an up and down vote, and then that'll go into law. Then 4 days after that, so we will be done on time. Human services will be done on time. Yeah.
As far as the budget goes, I want to get a little into the woods here. So between yours, because you obviously know yours, you put it together, and the Houses, how far apart are the two?
We're way apart. First of all, they're cutting their target cut was $1.3 billion, and the Senate target cut was $700 million, and in the House they take a lot of money from disability services and shift it over to the nursing homes, and they also increase taxes on. They do a cost shift to the counties, and that cost shift, it actually is a tax increase to counties, because there's no way counties can just all of a sudden come up with money. And then they put on what is known as a granny tax, right? So then they put some other provisions in there. And unlike the House, the Senate gets rid of all the shifts to the counties, right? We protect we actually protect the taxpayer of Minnesota by working within our budget target. We do that. We do it well.
Okay, I get the two differences, but is this just a matter of you're going to meet in the middle? Everything's going to be met in the middle, and that's the only way to get this by? Or can you stand and convince the House you've been wrong and everything you've done so far, you're just wrong?
Well, they're wrong in the fact that they're going to put $1 billion cuts in the out years. They have $300 million cut the first year, and then every year thereafter, every biennium thereafter, they're cutting $1 billion, and that's what the governor wants, and but the Senate doesn't want that. The Senate's no. A $1 billion cut in human services is going to be devastating for the programs that you and I talked about. We have talked about for years.
It's a domino thing, right? Because the human services, this is one. The other one is education. Two big dogs in the hunt.
Correct.
If I presume if you get it your way, then the House on the other side. Well, let's do it the other way. If you don't get your way, John, and you have to do the $1 billion, that changes the entire Senate budget, right? Are we anywhere close? You're just one part of it. You have the same thing on education. Are we even close to a general number at the top that we can get past? Because that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, there's no there. I know they're meeting the governor and the respective leaders of the majority and the minority are leading, and both the Senate and the other body are leading to try to come up with those global, what we call global target numbers, or a global agreed upon budget. So, as of, this morning at 8 a.m., they haven't come to that. And my point is this, I can live with a number closer to the Senate, right? I'll just, in the sense of, we'll just give another haircut, or, you offset this, you do so you could do that, but not $1 billion. $1 billion is going to dip it to the rates. $1 billion is going to really adversely affect, and here's the thing. Yeah. What they're not talking about is this, and this is what drives me absolutely bonkers. We knew 12 years ago that by this time, our population, 65 and older, is going to be close to 25% of the population. Let's just think of that number, right? We know one in five people in the state of Minnesota live with some kind of special health care need, right? One in five. And we know 1 in 10 people in Minnesota live with something chronic, right? A health condition that's chronic. So just those numbers alone tell you that's a lot of people, right? And we make up about 25% of the state's budget. Yet you want to cut 50%. You want to take 50% of your deficit cuts. You want to make human services pay for that. That's just math ain't mathing, Al. It just doesn't math for me on that one. And I'm not a math person, but the math ain't mathing. And so
let me throw this at you. I got to go to break. What bothers me about this whole thing you're talking about, John, Senator Hoffman, is that we're sitting here 1 week away, right? When you're supposed to be all done, everybody's supposed to be done 1 week away. And the powers that be, this isn't on you, the big dogs, the governor and all are trying to work out an overall number right now. That should have been done when the session started. Here's what we're going to work with. Let's get together, because then everything can flow from there. Now figure out how to get her done. It seems everything is done backwards.
Well, we did that in 2023. In your opinion, I appreciate your opinion. 2023, there was global agreements, but traditionally, it's usually the House has a number, the Senate has a number, then they go and they debate, which is what they're doing now on the number, period, on the number. So, I don't like what I'm hearing is people are starting to dip into, well, we're going to make decisions based upon, what and none of those guys are make decisions on rates or make decisions on programming, and you have the expertise in that. No, man, don't go back to figuring out which gravel roads in which county need to be plowed. Don't get into the disability world.
I got him going crazy right now. We're way late. We'll be back after this with more with Senator John Hoffman.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc., Midwest Money Management, and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
Do you have a closet full of old videos, photos, slides, or films? Regain that space and preserve those memories for future generations. Visit archivinglifemedia.com or call 952-829-8018. See how safe and simple it is to digitize all your media. Gain peace of mind knowing that all those important memories will be saved and can be seen and shared again. Do it today. Check out archivinglifemedia.com or give them a call, 952-829-8018.
Easily offended? The Al Travis Show is not for you. The Al Travis Show. All sides are welcome.
We've got him, Senator John Hoffman. He's one of the blue dogs. He's a blue dog. I want to ask you, Senator, if I can. Isn't this week, the last couple of weeks, really tough for you, Senator France, Putnam, those blue dogs? And this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Via the reformer, some state Democrats in swing districts are pushing to, sand down policies that were voted on before. Nick France, a friend of the show, author of the sick leave bill, also introduced a bill with Republicans to water down the family leave program. Do you see any of that happening? Will the dogs switch sides?
I don't know. I don't understand the quote. Will the dogs switch sides? I think here's the thing about politics, Al. If you're not authentic to who you are and to the people you represent, you just got to do it. One of the things is because all you have is your word in the Senate, right? And so,
sure.
And it's it's a evolving thing, and it's like an organism, right? It's constantly changing. And you might change, like today. I'm gonna reconsider a vote today that was done on Friday because I wasn't aware of all the other complexities that were going on in there, and it just so happens that's how it is, right? And sometimes that happens. So
when I say change, I don't mean to say change side, but like Senator Nick France, again, love the guy in this program. He's in a district where he's getting beat up pretty good about those two bills. He's in a blue district, so he's got to know. I'm not saying he's not, but when as today's 34, 33, it only takes one or two to say, in my district, I've got to do this, and then it changes. That's what I mean. I don't mean him. Nick France is not a Republican, but he's in that district where he might be, due to the people he's listening to, forced to vote another way. Do you all look down on those folks if that were to happen?
Nope.
Do you guys shun them like an Amish guy going out on a date? You shun them.
Oh, now you want to bring the Amish. I tell you, the Amish. I would go get rid of my cell phone, learn how to live off the land. I'm thinking Amish. I
got a thing going on
with the Amish.
That's a good point.
You put up. How many people do you know that can put up a barn in
one day? A day? Yeah. No, you're right. That was a bad.
That was.
I can name none.
I'm glad you brought that up. Have you ever had? And then when you go. And then you ever heard the term? It's green time. Green time.
Yep.
It's when they build their wood stuff. They go off not on months. Well, when is this going to be done? Well, it'll be done when we have green time. I don't know what the heck green time is, but idea.
Okay, that was my point. Now you just talk. Is that something that you think might happen? Those folks in those kind of districts that are getting that much pressure. I mean, Senator France, he's a lefty. I love him. But he's even feeling that pressure. He went with the Republicans to put out an amendment. Whether it goes anywhere, I have no idea.
Right, and whether it goes anywhere, remember, you're one of three entities, right? You're one of, you got the House to contend with it. In the House, it's 67, and that's even in human services. They got to convince 68 people to vote for the changes. Yeah. I understand that. I'm going in there, and I even understand, it's 34-33. That's not a guarantee, and that's how it should be. You should not, you should not be able to just, blow stuff through without having, deep conversations. You should need 34. I like the fact that Minnesota is not a gerrymandered state. That our Supreme Court they've done a great job, and every time we've redistricted, they've come in and said, we're not into gerrymandering in Minnesota. It doesn't work. Because if that's the case, there were some people that put together some maps, some constituency maps that were pretty gerrymandered, and both sides of the aisle, Republicans did it in their advantage, the Democrats did it in their advantage, and I'm glad we have the Supreme Court who comes in and says, that's not how the state.
I gotta cut you off, Senator. God love you. Go do the work of the people. You got 1 week to get her done, my friend. I gotta fly. I'm out of time. Thanks for being here.
Always good talking to you. Bye, Al.